Hey everyone, Brittany here with Scotland Designs. These earrings I'm wearing, I made them with my sublimation printer and laser cutter. Today I'm going to show you step by step, starting with digital product to finished pair of earrings that I actually sell in my shop. I'm not a digital artist. I do purchase licensed designs. So if you've ever wanted to learn how to make them yourself, let me show you how. All right, let's get started. As you can see, I've already found a cute little shamrock bow that I will be using from Creative Fabrica. Most of my designs that I use are purchased from here. They offer commercial use licenses. This just allows me to legally use the design that I put on my products to sell. Once I download my design from Creative Fabrica, I bring it into Silhouette and start resizing it for my earrings. I'm going to be using Silhouette Studio. This is a free software that you're able to download from the Silhouette website. I did buy the business edition just because it allows me to save my designs as SVGs. It's a one-time $99 fee, I believe. You can get it sometimes for $50, which I think that's what I did. So we're going to go in and add in our design. Sometimes when they're too big, they get a little bit laggy, so I like to go in and change the outline color from cut, which you can see with the red outline, to either a black or a color that matches the outline. Now we're going to go over here and resize the bow. I like to use this little resizer right here, but you're able to change it to the exact size you want without doing this. This is just what I've always done and it works for me. All right, let's go in and change it to the correct size that I want for my earrings. I'm using 1.5 inches high. We are going to be creating 2 offsets. The first one we are going to make is a 0 offset, which this is just outlining the design. This creates the border you are using when you're ready to cut it out. We're going to go over here to the offset and change the distance to 0.0 and hit apply. Now let's zoom in just a little bit so we can see it better. We've created our first offset, and now we're going to go make our earring hole. Let's go over here to the oval and choose that and hit shift and draw our circle with our mouse. And then we're going to go up here and resize it. I like to use 0.067 as my standard earring hole. That works with my jump rings, which I use 6 or 7 millimeter. We need to make sure that it's centered correctly with our bow. We'll just go up here and hit alignment. Make sure you hit center alignment and not horizontal like I did. Once we have everything aligned correctly, we want to highlight the whole bow and the earring hole and group it together. When you move it, it doesn't separate, it stays intact. You need to make sure that only the outline is selected. This is where you're turning it into an SVG file to use in our WeCreate program. With the outline that we've created still selected, we hit File, Save Selection, and Save to Hard Drive. The first thing I always do is change my file type to SVG. If you don't have the Silhouette Business Edition, this will not be available for you. I already saved it here as St. Patty's bow, so I'm just going to go in and save her over it. So now we're going to be working on our second offset. The first one you don't need anymore, so you can delete it or just move it out of your way since you already have it saved. We're going to click offset again and change it to 0.030. This gives it just a little bit of an outer layer, as you can see. I've had a couple people ask me how I get my design to match almost perfectly up with the outer edge, and this is just what I do. With that offset we just created, we're going to go in and change the color to a green that matches the inside of the shamrock. We're going to change the outline and the fill color. Make sure you have just that outline selected. If you have the whole design selected, it will color in the whole shamrock, and we're not trying to do that. Let's go ahead and select the bow and the outline and group it together. That way it's not separating when you're moving. I'm going to go ahead and take this other outline out of the way and zoom in just a little bit and change my paper size to an 8.5 by 11. This is what I'm going to use to print out my design on my sublimation printer. I do have the Sawgrass SG800. It's an older model, but they do have the newer ones out. I believe they're like the SG500 and SG1000. I have had this printer now for about 5 or 6 years, and it's just been a major workhorse. But the ink is very expensive. I know a lot of people have changed Epson Eco printers into sublimation printers, and that may be something I want to try later on down the road. So let's get this design ready for printing. I'm going to duplicate it, and then I'm going to mirror one of the images. This is just because they are slightly different on the front and the back, and I do make my earrings double-sided. So if you aren't making it double-sided, then you won't have to do this. Now we're going to go into our We Create software and upload our design that we created in Silhouette Studio. Let's hit import and select our St. Patty's Bow SVG that we created. So as you can see, it comes separately, even though we saved it grouped together. Now we're going to go in and hit align and center horizontally, and then choose merge and subtract overlapping shapes. This just merges it together and makes it one cut file. For this project, I'm using my We Create Vista, which is a 10-watt diode laser. Let's go ahead and choose 3mm basswood. And now let's hit the refresh button. This shows what the inside of my laser looks like before we place and cut. First, we are going to hit the auto measure. Even though it gives you a set thickness of 3mm, you can see that red dot in the middle. That just measures the thickness of an item that you're cutting. So it went from 3mm to 3.58mm. Now I'm just going to copy and paste so I have a pair of earrings right here. Next, we're going to go ahead and select both of the bows, and I'm going to click my cut settings, which is going to be a 90 power, a 3 speed, and we're going to leave it at 1 pass. For these earrings, I am using the 1/8 inch marker board from Smoky Hill Designs. Now that we've got everything set to cut, we're going to go in and hit start. And it takes just a second for it to pop up. And then hit send. We've got our marker board loaded into our laser, and so we are ready to get this cutting. So we're going to hit the send button and watch it cut. We finished cutting it, and now let's take it out and see what it looks like. I guess let's not struggle like I am and show the camera. Okay, so here is the cut out bow, and we got to poke it out. I like the marker board because it only gives me 1 pass, whereas some of the other ones you have to do multiple passes, which I feel like burns it. So this is what I'm using for these. And how cute are they? Now let's get to making the earrings. I'm using my 20 gauge gold wire from Bead Nova, and I also like the bead-along that they have at Michael's. I have my printed design that I'm going to use. The soft earring backs, I know some people like the metal ones, but I prefer the soft ones. That's just what I sell with mine. Unless it comes with the studs, then I'll use those. I have 2 sparkly rhinestone green earrings, my 2.25mm bead looper, and I have a pair of pliers. Now I'm going to take a pair of those pliers and just cut off this wire. It makes it easier for me to use my looper tool with. So we're going to go in, insert my wire into the looper tool, and this is going to form just a very simple loop. See, easy peasy and done. Now I'm going to go in and grab one of our rhinestone beads and add it to my wire. I probably should have cut this before I added the bead, but now we're going to go ahead and get a pair of those pliers and cut this one down also. Now when I'm making my loops, I'm going to want to make sure that I have one loop going front to back and the other one going side to side, if that makes sense. We're making them this way because the stud loop hole is going a different way than how the jump ring will be on the bow. You'll see this later on in the video. Okay, let's go ahead and finish the second bead. I really enjoy making jewelry, not just the like sublimated earrings, but like beaded ones as well. I just don't post it as much as I'd like to. I tend to sell more beaded jewelry in store than I would online. Now I'm going to remove the blue painter's tape. I always mask my wood products before cutting because it helps minimize charring and smoke marks. You might still notice a little bit of discoloration when I peel it back, but that's completely normal. And then I'll show you how I clean this up. To clean it up, I usually use an unscented baby wipe and gently wipe the surface and around it. It removes the soot without damaging the wood. If you don't have any baby wipes, you can also use a slightly damp microfiber cloth, rubbing alcohol, or even a magic eraser. Just a very lightly cleanse, be super gentle. It is wood, so we always have to be safe to make sure it doesn't bubble up or tear up. All right, let's clean it up just a little bit more, just another little wipe down on places that we may have missed. Here is the finished product, and we are ready to sublimate. When I'm making my earrings with the Smoky Hill Designs marker board, I use my Dytran spray. It's just like a soft, tacky spray glue. I don't recommend using heat transfer tape just because with this marker board, it's very sensitive, and whenever you sublimate it, you have to let it sit for at least 5 minutes before you pull off the paper, or it will tear off the top layer of the wood. It's not because the product isn't a great quality, it's because the heat makes it very soft. Just like acrylic is, once it gets hot, it's very pliable. Now we are ready to press our earrings. I do use 385 degrees for 60 seconds with a medium to heavy pressure. So now that we've finished sublimating our bows, here is the finished product. I'm going to be using 7mm jump rings for these. We're going to go ahead and attach them to the bows now. I got these cute little gold ball studs off of Amazon, and I will link them in the description. So now we're going to take our rhinestone bead connector that we made and attach it to the ball stud. This is where you're going to see why you needed to have one loop going one way and one loop going the other way. So now we've got our bow that already has the jump ring on it, and we're going to attach the connector to the bow using our pliers to close off that jump ring. And there you have it. Here is our finished earring. Now we're going to use another type of stud just to give a different perspective of what it looks like with something else. These are super cute gold squares that I got from Amazon also. You could say a square or a diamond. We're just going to attach these the same way that we did our ball stud. And they just have a very different look to them. Not too different, but it's just a different perspective of what the earring could look like without just the ball stud. I prefer just having the ball just because I feel like this takes away from the design a little bit, I guess you could say, but it's still super cute. Which stud do you prefer? I love hearing everybody's different opinions. Thank you so much for making it all the way to the end of this video. I really appreciate you being here. If this tutorial helped you, I would love it if you would give me a like and leave me a comment letting me know what you'd like to see next. Your feedback really helps me decide what I'm going to film. And if you're interested in more small business and sublimation and laser cutting tutorials, go ahead and hit subscribe so you don't miss the next one. I'll see y'all in the next video.